Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Paul.
And we're going to challenge you to transform your financial future through the principles of the most profitable business in the world, banking.
We believe everyone should be involved in two businesses, the business that you're in and the banking business. Everyday people can replicate what bankers have been doing for centuries to leverage capital and build wealth through private lending.
Join us as we uncover the truths about money, expose lies and myths, and flip conventional financial advice on its head. Here we go. All right, Paul, long time no see, man.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
48 hours.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. Well, we just got back from a hunting trip. That was fun. We did our annual South Dakota pheasant hunting trip. Got to kill some birds and bring them home. You haven't cooked them yet, have you?
Nope, they're I got them frozen. I don't know when we're gonna eat them. Anthony and I will probably be the only ones that indulge. You know, people eat chickens, right? Because they're used to eating chickens, even though chickens are kind of a disgusting creature.
Yeah, they're really
when
good
you consider how they're the ones they are. No, they're good to eat. But, you know, this is a natural, wild animal.
Corn-fed.
Corn-fed.
Yeah.
Corn-fed.
Yeah, so they made it all the way home, frozen still?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they pack them up pretty good for you.
Yeah, we had a great time, man. Three nights, 2 full days of hunting, and just shooting hundreds of rounds
I think we all got better with our shotguns over time.
Oh yeah.
And folks, Dave had brought brand new shotguns. He bought one for himself and his son, and I pressured him into it, so that was good, and it paid dividends because they killed many birds.
Oh, I like the use of the word dividend. We'll get into that today.
Did I say dividend?
Yeah, you said paid dividends.
I did. Yeah.
So we like dividends. Hey, as long as there's a dividend paid, I'm happy. And that was worth it. Getting the new shotguns, something much more, better equipment. I had no excuses this time for missing anything. I couldn't blame it on my equipment anymore. So
yeah, you could definitely blame most of it on the equipment last couple of years, just because that's almost impossible to.
Pretty much anything I miss is because somebody else got it first. We had some quick draws out there, especially you. You're quick on the draw.
I do all right. Yeah, I do all right. But yeah, I think Chad and James they're very fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It looks like no effort at all.
Yeah, it's just effort. Yeah, effortless.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, let's talk more about that. So, when we were hunting, it's funny how the things you just do in the course of daily life, you're able to draw some analogies from when it comes to infinite banking. So, which is what we talk about every episode. But since it's hunting season, and I'm sure we have more than a handful of hunters that listen to the podcast, they'll be able to relate. And even if you're not a hunter, you're going to be able to relate because you know what hunting is, right? You carry a gun and you shoot stuff. But let's put this in a little bit more context. So you mentioned my equipment. I bought a couple more shotguns. So I had the appropriate equipment. So how would you relate that to infinite banking?
Yeah, that's great. So on this show, we talk about infinite banking noise, and some of that noise involves using IBC with other products other than properly structured. We use that term a lot, but dividend paying whole life insurance from a mutual life insurance company. That is the right product for the practice of IBC.
Right. Now, can you hunt?
Life.
Could you hunt with other things? Like I could hunt with a slingshot.
You could, like David, right? Or you could, Matt was throwing up, clay pigeons, and I was trying to shoot him with Anthony's, lever action Henry 22 rifle.
Right.
It'd be. Could I probably hit one eventually? Probably.
Yeah.
But I'd have to take many, many, many shots for that to occur.
Yeah. The chances are a lot lower. So
yeah,
the appropriate equipment in anything you do, any sport or activity or anything in life, having the appropriate equipment in the kitchen, like you're going to get a much better result. Right. And with infinite banking, it's a process. Banking is a process, but you got to use a product for the process of banking. There's no better product than specially designed whole life insurance, properly designed. So with a good mix of PUA and base, with a dividend paying company. So, does that mean just like when we were shooting, everybody had a different shotgun? You had over unders, you had semi-automatic, you had pump action, different brands. Those are all valid brands and valid types of shotgun for the hunting we were doing, right? So just like every whole life policy is not going to be designed exactly the same, but as long as you're using a whole life insurance policy from a dividend paying company, then the design can differ, but you're using the right overall product for that.
So the right product. We also had not only the right equipment, we were also sharing like ammunition as well. We all shot the same loads.
So what would you compare the ammunition to?
Well, I was trying to think about what that's compared to. We might have to come back to it because I think maybe it's just an extension of the equipment or something. I don't know, because it is equipment.
So we had 12 gauge and we had 20 gauge. When we're shooting the birds, some. Maybe that could be, the difference in the dividend. One company might have a 5% dividend. One company might have a 5.5% dividend. Does it really matter? No, we have a whole other conversation episode on dividends. It doesn't matter. You're using, that ammunition you're using is going to do the job as long as you're using ammunition, right? As long as you're getting a dividend, it's going to do the job.
It's going to go bang.
It goes bang. Yeah. So what about, we also went to a preserve ran by a family, and this guy is an expert, right? He's been hunting his entire life, and he was our expert hunting guide. So
that's right.
Why is it important to have an expert hunting guide, man? Because he knows all the ins and outs, right? It was no guesswork for us. We show up and he puts us in the bus and he takes us to the right field. We walk the right fields. We get the right amount of pheasant. We count. We get the limit for the day, and then he takes us back home. So, what's that equivalent in the IBC world?
Yeah, so that's the right an IBC practitioner. So, not every life insurance agent that can design a whole life insurance policy for you structured for IBC is necessarily an authorized infinite banking concepts practitioner, meaning through the Nelson Nash Institute, gone through the course, taken the curriculum, been mentored by another expert, more senior or seasoned in the business, right? And Joe's just like that, right? Like they've had this family business for 40 plus years. And it's just, meat and potatoes with those guys. And they make it, they don't manage how we do it though, do they? They just say, hey, you guys figure out who's going to block, who's going to be in the wing, who's going to do this and who's going to do that. And we do, right? So, but they get us to the right place.
They make it easy. You're right. And they get us to the right place. So it's kind of like a practitioner. If you work with an IBC practitioner, somebody who's been trained correctly. They know exactly what they're doing. They've already decided what companies work well for this. So it takes all the guesswork out of where do I go to get a policy like this, or what field do I go to find all the pheasant. The guesswork is gone. We drive you right to the company, say, this is the one we recommend. And, here's the reasons why, if you want to know why. And then we work with you to make sure you get what you're looking for. Like, we didn't stop hunting until we got 3 birds per hunter every single morning. Right. So we went until we hit that limit. And that's what a good practitioner is going to do. They're going to work with you until you've designed something that works for your goals and your personal financial situation.
Oh, I love it. Perfect.
Yeah. All right. This is one.
I like this next one.
Yeah. This is my favorite, man. Good company, in quotes. So a little play on words here. But man, you can't go hunting without good company, right? If if you go hunting with a bunch of strangers and you got nothing in common, and it's not, because let's be honest, hunting is part of it is about shooting guns and killing birds. Shooting this stuff is always fun. But the people you're doing that with really what makes or breaks the experience for you. So we had great company. It gets better every year too.
This was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal people. And Dave and I didn't know everybody. Some people we met for the first time, but we knew most people, I would say, at least more than half, easy, right? Which does make things a bit smoother. But for the folks we had just met for the first time, man, they fell right in because we're all like-minded. There was even one non-IBC guy, right? But he's gonna be.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's gonna listen too.
I think he was the only one who'd never even actually heard of infinite banking.
Right.
But I think we all hit on it enough with him that hopefully he's listening to the podcast. And if you are, Andrew, let's talk, because you got to get on board, man.
Yeah, he's funny. We flew back with him on the same flight to Charlotte.
Oh yeah.
And little Andrew sat behind us with his with his bird.
So we had one guy who went hunting a year ago and went and took his pheasant to a taxidermist, got it mounted with the wings spread.
Yeah.
And then he had to fly all the way back home with it. So that was like his support animal on the airline. Huh? This is my support pheasant.
Yeah, it was great. And then, Big Andrew, he had sent me a couple of texts from first class about the person he was sitting next to, and I'll share that with you later. But it was just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, that's
funny,
awesome.
Good people that we met for the first time. They're not doing IBC, but it didn't matter. Like-minded, similar views of the world.
Yeah,
and that made all the difference. So yeah, man, the good company, and we equate that to Dave and I, we have our favorite company. And a lot of you that are our clients obviously know which one that is. We don't mention it on here. We don't talk about different companies, but it's one we use for a reason, because it works. Their products work very well with IBC. They're nested.
For many reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one reason. They're nested with IBC. How about that?
Yeah. Right. So you want good company when you're hunting. You want to work with a good company when you're doing IBC.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Now you and I both took I took my oldest son. You took your only son. So Jack and Anthony were there. So we were teaching, and Anthony's not old enough to shoot yet, in South Dakota, but he will be next year.
Right.
So he got to learn a lot this year, and my son is the third time going for him, and he got to continue to learn and get better. So we were teaching the next generation about this, right? A legacy that can be handed down to, Jack and Anthony can hand it down to their boys one day if they have boys, and just continue that on down the line. So what would we compare that to?
Yeah. And that's the same exact thing that we're doing, same strategy we're going to use with IBC. Your sons, my kids they hear us talking about it all the time. They know they have life insurance contracts that have cash value that they can borrow against. They already know all these things, in their young teenage and preteen years. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those boys, going on this hunting trip, as an enduring thing as we all, kind of age through this, but also looking forward to being the family bank. Yeah. Through dividend paying whole life for the family in the next generation. So.
Right. So we can leave a legacy like that. We can leave a legacy you get a nice shotgun. That's a good thing to hand down. Because we had one guy there who was shooting with a 47-year-old Remington 870.
Yeah.
Right. Dave was.
Yeah, he was. And he got it in 1976. It looked beautiful. He obviously takes very good care of it.
Yeah. Obviously.
And yeah.
So you can hand that down. And just like, when you and I retire from this earth, we're going to leave a large legacy in tax-free income to our kids.
That's right.
Yeah. So there you go. All right. Now this is fun. Now, if you've
Yeah,
ever been,
we had to think about this for a second, didn't we?
it took us a little while to make this connection, but every good pheasant hunt has good bird dogs. So what do these dogs do? They go out ahead of you and they kick up, they flush quail, right? They call it like that old expression, let's flush some quail, like let's throw some stuff up in the air, right? They go through these cornfields and the Milo and
Milo,
they're looking for pheasant, the roosters, and they're going to cause those roosters to fly up in the air, which create perfect opportunities for us as hunters to bag them, tag them and bag them. So those birds, those dogs are flushing opportunities for us, much like what in the IBC world.
Yeah, so we've talked about this a million times. The bird dogs are like having capital, right? Capital finds opportunities. Another way to put it is opportunities are attracted to capital. These birds are not attracted to the dogs, trust me. But the dogs are flushing those opportunities, and we're just knocking them out.
Yep.
And 7 of them this year, though. Seven dogs out there with us.
There's a lot of dogs.
It's a lot of dogs, and they work hard for you.
And guess what? Not every pheasant that came up was an opportunity for you, depending on where you were.
You had to pass on some, didn't you? Not only because it was the wrong type of opportunity, because it was a hen.
A hen.
You don't shoot the hens. You just shoot the cocks.
We'll talk about that. Yep.
But
it could be too far away for you.
Could be too far away.
You know, even with a full choke, maybe you're clear across on the other side of that cornfield, and you're just like, that is not even worth the ammo taking that shot because there's no chance. You know, it's just not a good opportunity. I'm going to be patient and wait for the perfect opportunity where that one just kicks up, 15 yards in front of me and just hovers in the air. And you're like, oh, baby.
You're mine.
Boom. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So capital finds opportunity, just like dogs find birds. So, and just like we mentioned, as a hunter, you got to be disciplined and patient. So be disciplined on where you're aiming, right? Because you don't want to put somebody wearing an orange vest
Yep, we don't want to get
frag
sprayed.
pattern. Yeah, you don't want to get peppered. And you got to be patient because not every field is going to be ripe with opportunities. Some fields might be better than others. So you got to be patient and opportunity is going to come your way. Yeah,
I like to overlay kind of FOMO with this. Not only do you have to be patient and capitalize your system, everyone, but you can't have this fear of missing out. Everyone's had that the last few years. Like, oh, I gotta do something. I gotta take a policy loan and do something, right? Don't do that. Be patient. There's always a better opportunity around the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, there absolutely will be. So, if you miss one, don't worry. One opportunity is not going to make or break you. But if you can avoid the ones that break you, that'd be great. So yeah, you don't have to be impatient and jump on the first bird that pops up in the sky.
That's right. But be ready.
So let's talk about being ready. There's one time I was climbing off the bus, and of course we don't keep loaded shotguns on the bus. So
right.
You climb off the bus, you get in your pockets, you pull out a few shells, and you start loading your shotgun. But before I could even get loaded, there was a pheasant in the air, and it flew right over my head. And there's nothing I can do. I was not ready. So I would relate that to capitalizing your policy. Like if you're looking to take loans against your policy right away, or like you just said, that FOMO, like, oh, I'm going to miss out if I don't take a loan real quick, or I'm just going to use it because I have it, even though I wouldn't otherwise go do this deal. You may not be ready.
That's right.
So don't be afraid to capitalize. Like Nelson says, don't be afraid to wait until you're ready instead of, taking a ridiculous shot. Cause I got one shell in there and I see a bird and I go ahead and cock it and I shoot right above my head because it's there. And like, that's a stupid thing to do. I didn't check my environment, see what's around me. I didn't wait to capitalize before I seized an opportunity.
Yep. And Nelson tells a great story in the book about, he had the buddy that called him and He knew the land deal was worth way more than he was selling it for, but the guy needed cash. Nelson had the opportunity. Had Nelson done something else, maybe less profitable because it was the first thing that came across his desk, right? He would never have not only that land deal, but the next one from the guy who sold them parcels twice, right? At least twice. So yeah, be patient.
Yep. Don't be afraid to capitalize.
The birds will come.
They will. They're going to be there.
Yep.
So, kind of going with that theme, I like that old phrase, that maxim, keep your powder dry.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We've talked about that, and it's a great way to put it.
Yeah. In fact, that was going to be one of our possible sign-offs, like keep your powder dry.
People are like, I got to look that up. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a very old term back when you had to put powder in guns, I imagine, but
yeah, wet powder doesn't go boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So keep your powder dry, just like we said. In the case of hunting, it's have a loaded shotgun ready to go. If you unload, one or two shots when you see a pheasant, well, you better reload right away and get it ready to go again. So keep your powder dry. Always have capital available, because you never know when an opportunity is going to show up, is going to be flushed out of that cornfield for you to take a perfect shot.
Love it.
Now, why don't you talk about the chokes? You're much more well-versed in that.
Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, actually, it was really like just the week before last, maybe, or even early last week, when you went out and bought the shotguns, and you had sent me a link. Like, does this work? And I looked at it and I was like, yeah. And then I hadn't looked. I was still reading. I was like, hey, does it come with chokes? And you're like, I don't know. And it did, and it came with the appropriate choke. So, generally, folks, if you've never gone bird hunting or used a shotgun, there's different chokes. And these are like a metal cylinder that you screw into the end of the barrel, and it affects the distance that the shot from the shotgun shell will travel. So, for example, if you use like a improved cylinder choke, the shot will not go as far, but it'll be a wider pattern. So it's really good for up close shots. And so, Dave, those guys that had over-under shotguns, they can load two different chokes, right? They could have an improved cylinder and maybe a modified or improved modified, or even a full choke, I think is what Chad was running by the end there on that second day.
Yeah.
So with the full choke, it really necks down the spread of the shot, and you get you can take further, shots, because these birds sometimes, 30 yards away. Or maybe even 40 yards. I'm not really sure, but so yeah, you want to have this goes back to the equipment. Where you're hunting, the types of, the environment you're going to be in. Some of the shots are going to be close because maybe you're a block, you're on the wing, and they're going to be flying right at you maybe because of the wind. So your environment, you're controlling the environment as best you can. So I always put myself in a position where I get off the bus and I check the wind. And I was like, all right, I'm walking this side. Yeah. And sure enough, that second field on the second day, I got the first kill. It popped right up, hovered into the wind. I blasted it and got him. So, so I use a modified choke because I have a semi-automatic shotgun. No, that's not cheating, folks. I just get an extra shot. That's, but they're all the same. It's
not a sporty. Let's just say that there's something a little sporty about having a pump between every shot.
Yeah. Well, it does pump. It just does it,
just not by
quickly.
You. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so having multiple chokes.
Multiple chokes.
You don't want to go out with just one, right? Having multiple gives you more opportunities to seize on opportunities, right? Because now you can hit the close and the far. So I kind of compare that to having multiple policies. Why would you just stop at one?
That's right.
Right. You start with one if that's where you start, but you're not done at that point. You've just begun. So, you want multiple, just like if we had one shotgun we were sharing between the 16 hunters out there.
We would never have shot our limit.
Never. No, especially depending on who was shooting and then where those opportunities came from. Right.
A lot of opportunities, most opportunities would have been missed or never seen.
Most likely, because, or seen and
especially
never even had a chance.
From in the 9-foot, 10-foot cornfields.
You couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So, you know,
Zero
this is
shots from me.
a series of policies.
That's right.
So don't limit yourself to just one. When you're ready for the next, you get the next. You have other insurable interests. Like I've got, you know, I took one son with me. He needed his own shotgun and set of
That's right.
chokes. Next year, I'll take 3 boys with me. They'll all need their own shotgun. So you can't stop. You have just one for all 4 of you. So, you know, get more insurable interest. You have more reason and opportunity to create more policies in your banking system.
Yeah. And Dave, really, this gets to really the fundamental understanding of IBC, of capitalizing, of really getting to that deep level of understanding of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to control the function of banking in our life. So why would we stop? If premium, you know, the problem's the problem, right? The premium is the solution.
Mm-hmm.
The more premium you pay, the more problems ultimately you're going to be able to solve for your family.
Perfect. Absolutely. So, you know, let's talk about premiums in this final analogy between hunting and IBC is what every time a bird flies in the air, there's one of two things that everybody starts yelling.
Yep. It's either cock. So that's shoot, you know, shoot.
Right.
You shoot at the cocks, the males, right? And then hen, you don't want to shoot the hens because they're the ones producing other cocks to then shoot later on, right?
Right. So shooting a hen would be equivalent of stealing the peas.
Absolutely.
Would be the equivalent of you taking loans and not repaying them and letting your policy really essentially dissolve over time by not feeding it.
That's right.
Right. And then, or two, by not funding your full premium every year, by going down to the bare minimum. Yeah. Just pay the base, you know, which, you know, if you're doing a 1090, good luck with that. Have fun with that, you know, putting in, you know, 1/10 of what you could be putting in. But anyway, yeah, by not funding the full premium every single year and by not repaying loans or having a plan to repay those loans over time, you're shooting the hens. You're shooting hens. Destroying the ability to reuse for that capital to regenerate and use the same capital over and over and over.
That's right. Yep. And I shot a hen the first time I went, maybe two. I don't know.
I did too.
You never miss.
Yep. Well, and that's kind of like, you know, you first start, like you're going to make some mistakes. You don't know everything you're doing. And
that's right.
Oh, shoot, man, I had PUA. I could have paid during that policy year and I didn't know it. I'm not going to make that mistake again this year. You know, after my policy anniversary, I'm going to call up and say, exactly how much PUA can I pay? You know, and make sure you maximize that every single year. So, you know, if you make that mistake once, it's not going to kill you at all. It's no big deal. You just kind of, you know, leave the hen in the cornfield and, you know, chalk it up as a lesson learned.
That's right.
And don't do it again.
Oops.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, that's cool, man. That was a lot of fun. And I'd love to hear other people's analogies of what the listeners are, you know, what's your profession or what's your hobby and how can you relate that to becoming your own banker through the infinite banking concept? I'd love to hear about it.
I mean, we did one for pilots, right? Tailwind.
Yeah.
So obvious that's better to have when you're traveling somewhere.
I think it'd be a fun challenge to just on the spot, somebody said, just name any hobby, any sport, any profession and say, now compare it to IBC. I bet we could do it. Some would be harder than others, but that'd be fun. So give it a try for yourself. Whatever you do for a living, compare that to IBC and see if you can't draw some analogies and some similarities.
Right on.
Yeah. All right. Well, stay in the books. Keep educating yourselves. Thanks for listening. And man, have we broken 100 reviews on iTunes yet?
You know, I haven't looked.
We are at 99. So hey, who's going to be number 100? That's a big deal.
I haven't done one, and I know you haven't either.
Number 100. If we could see, let's see. Oh, the last review we got was on September 6th.
Was that maybe Joe?
Well, I don't know. This says music equals life. Life is good. So it could be one of my buddies, could be Lance. He's a big music guy.
There you go.
But I don't see a name here. But hey, if you want to be the 100th review, we would love to have it. So, all right, we'll check next week and make sure we hit 100.
Here we go.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, that was fun. And you already got a haircut since you've been home. Are you serious?
Yeah, well, we've talked about it, man. I don't have like, you have like nice, kind of like fine, straight hair. Mine gets all frizzy, like the hair that grows next to like a dog's butt.
Yeah.
So it gets all bristly and just looks like.
Well, that probably explains your nickname, which I won't share on screen. I'm kidding.
Dude, that was funny the other night. That was a good time around the fire.
Sitting around the fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
We didn't do that. It was too cold in November to do that last time. Or maybe it wasn't even out there. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, it's fun. The conversations with a bunch of men around the fire is very predictable.
Cigars.
You know at least a couple of the topics that are going to come up every time without fail. So
yeah,
it did not disappoint. But
no doubt.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to next year. And looking forward to next week for another recording. So all right, everybody. Hey, thanks for listening. And until next week, control your capital.
Or somebody else will.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. If you'd like to have a conversation with us to see how you can become your own banker, or if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to tackle on a future episode, please send us an email to davidandpaul@theibcguys.com.
And subscribe and leave us a review if you're on Apple. Follow and leave us a 5-star review if you're on Spotify. And please share this with your friends. We'll see you next week.